Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name is, of course, Cal, and we are going to be discussing the win yesterday in Frank Lampard's first game. Everton 4, Brentford 1 in the fourth round of the FA Cup at Goodison Park. First of all, it feels a bit strange, doesn't it, to be doing one of these videos following a win. They seem to be very downbeat recently. There's not been much to really get positive about, but hopefully, there's reason to be optimistic that we can turn that corner now. Now we are live on YouTube, so be sure to drop a comment and we'll get some read out and engage in some discussion. I'll read some of them out, and we're hoping to be joined by Paul McAllister at some point in the show as well. So it's always good to hear Paul and get some of his thoughts on the game yesterday. Now, yeah, it's been a busy week at the club. I think that goes without saying. So much change has happened in the last 2 weeks. The appointment of Frank Lampard being the overriding one. The new signings coming in, the new backroom staff. There seems to have been a big upheaval at the club, and it was very much needed, wasn't it? The whole Rafa Benitez situation. I think a lot of us would like to just put that behind us now and pretend it never happened. But of course, we are still being left to pick up the pieces, aren't we? And that sort of began against Aston Villa, but that game it didn't even come close to replicating what we saw when Dunk took charge against Chelsea. But no, a lot of change. Frank Lampard's the new manager, new backroom staff, two real positive signings on transfer deadline day as well. And Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli, who I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about as the show goes on. And of course, they didn't feature in this game due to being cup tied, which is really disappointing. But yeah, Frank Lampard's first game, the FA Cup, a great opportunity for us to get off to a winning start before two huge games this week against Newcastle and Leeds. And of course, it also represents a great opportunity for us to advance and get a bit of a cup run under our belts. And if the fifth round draw today is anything to go by, then fingers crossed we might have a bit of a cup run on our hands. So yeah, let's talk a bit about the game now. And again, we are live on YouTube, so if you are watching, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't done already, and be sure to leave a comment, and we'll read as many out as we can and get involved in the discussion. So yeah, the team news came out. Bit of a strange one. I think a lot of people are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Vitaly Mykolenko back in the starting 11. He played at left back, and it was a great chance for him to, finally perform in front of the fans. He's got a lot of stick in recent weeks. He didn't do too badly against Hull in the third round of the Cup, but he didn't really cover himself in much glory against Norwich City, and then he was left out altogether against Aston Villa. So it was good to see Vitaly come in. He opted to play Seamus Coleman, and then we had Godfrey, Holgate, and Michael Keane playing three centre halves at the back. And straight away from the off, the whole way we played, it was just so much. It was just so much more positive. That was the first thing that struck me. I think in the opening 10 minutes, it was just clear already that there was a whole new philosophy being implemented onto this side. I thought we were more direct, we had a bit more flair about us. For the first time that I can remember in a long, long time, we were playing the ball past the halfway line, and we didn't look absolutely petrified to get into the opposition's half and be aggressive, which is something which the managers, he spoke a lot about in his press conferences, in his first couple of interviews for the club. He wanted to impose a more aggressive style of play, a bit more of a pressing game. And, this is what happens when you press teams and you don't set up so negatively and you almost set up to get beat. We played like the home side, which sounds crazy, but it was the first time this season where we actually did play like the home side at Goodison Park. And it was a pretty dominant performance by Everton, I thought. It was just great to see. It was just finally give the fans something to cheer about, and it was just so positive, wasn't it? The welcome Frank Lampard got as well was he's made no secret of how much that meant to him. And looking at everything that came before this week, it's just been so negative. We've seen protests and everything, but finally, from a club and a fan base which has been so divided, it was great to see us all, get a bit of unity together. And we were all singing from the same hymn sheet, quite literally, weren't we? Singing Frank Lampard's name, and once we got that first goal, great corner by by Damari Gray. We won the corner from it was a shot by Andre Gomez, who I thought had one of his better games for us yesterday. We won the corner, and then Damari Gray. We've got a backroom staff now where I think we're going to try to be a bit more productive from set pieces, because let's face it, we haven't been too great, have we, on set pieces recently? But it was a great ball in by Damari, and great header by Yerry Mina. But of course, we should mention that the only reason Yerry Mina was on the field in the first place was due to the injury to Ben Godfrey, which is a bit of a concern at the moment, because we're not being great defensively. So to lose a key man like Godfrey, it's always going to hurt the side. He went down straight away. I think we knew he was just going to come straight off. I think in the post match interview, the manager said that it was looking like a hamstring injury, and then there was a couple of tweets going around saying he actually left Goodison on crutches. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Hopefully, it's not too much of an extensive injury, because, as I said before, we've got some massive games coming up, haven't we? But yeah, Yerry Mina came on for him, scores a great header from Damari Gray's corner, and we find ourselves 1-0 up. We get the first goal, and I think that sort of set the tempo for the game from that point onward, didn't it? We just seemed so much more confident in our own ability to actually go and win the game and go for the kill and just take the game to Brentford, which we did, which was really encouraging to see. It was like night and day from our performance the last time we played Brentford, wasn't it? So yeah, we go in half time 1-0 up. There's a great feel around the place, around Goodison. The passion from Lampard on the line when that first goal went in. Yerry Mina getting the first goal of the Frank Lampard era. Yeah, it was fantastic, wasn't it? We go in half time 1-0 up, and we come out the second half, and Richarlison makes it 2-0. It's a great weighted ball through by Alan, who also had a fantastic game as well. He's another one who's came under a lot of stick recently. He's been criticised for his lack of pace. Just getting caught out in that two-man midfield. But I thought he was tremendous in the middle of the park alongside Andre Gomez. And just on the second goal, it was a fantastic ball through to Richarlison, wasn't it? And he had a similar chance in the first half, but he skied it over the bar. But this time, Richarlison made no mistake and doubled our lead. And it's 2-0, and from that point onwards, we are looking very comfortable. I don't want to say going into cruise control, because we always know this Everton side has mistakes in it, and it's still very early days in terms of completely forgetting about some of the unforgivable mistakes some of these players have made this season. So yeah, then 2-0 up, and then we give away. It's a bit of a needless penalty to give away, really. When a keeper takes a player down like that. Few calls for offside, but I don't think it was ever going to get given. VAR must have looked at it. It wasn't given offside, and then before you know it, Brentford have a penalty and they slot it home. A bit disappointing that we couldn't keep a clean sheet, and Jordan Pickford couldn't get his hands to it. It's frustrating sometimes with Pickford, isn't it? Every time we see him play for England, he always seems to be so reliable saving penalties, but he just can't really seem to do it that much for Everton. And that's not a massive criticism of Pickford, because we know he's been one of our star players this year. So yeah, it's 2-1, and I suppose at that point when Brentford pull one back through Ivan Toney from the spot, you start to think, the doubts start to creep into your mind. How fragile mentally some of these players can be. I think at the likes of the two centre backs, Mason Holgate and Michael Keane. We know the mental fragilities of some of these players, so it's always niggling in the back of our minds that we might let it slip, and offer Brentford a way back into the game if previous performances are anything to go by. But we were proved wrong, and we just went for even more. We got the third. It was another set piece, and another great corner, perfectly weighted in by Damari Gray. And Mason Holgate, he takes it really well. He gets a touch onto it, and it's 3-1. And you'd like to think at that point that the game was probably out of reach for Brentford. I'm just glad we didn't fall to pieces when we conceded from the penalty, to be honest, because we've seen it too many times where this squad just fall to bits under the slightest bit of pressure. But we didn't, and Mason Holgate got his goal, and a lot's been made of Mason Holgate this season. He's a player who many fans would quite be happy to see the back of, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. And I thought Mason Holgate had a really tidy game yesterday. He looked assured on the ball. He was comfortable. He didn't make too many glaring errors in which I can remember. It was one of the best games I've seen Holgate have in a long, long time. And for him to get that goal as well, hopefully it does his confidence the world of good. And then from that point onwards, it's looking like we are going to go on and win the game. And yeah, he brings on, he changes it up. He takes Anthony Gordon off. He brings Alex Iwobi on. He brings Cenk Tosun on. Took Richarlison off as well. He brings Andros Townsend on. And of course, you've got to remember these huge games in the week are definitely going to be on Lampard's mind. When you're 3-1 up, I suppose, at home and you are playing as well as we were, you can afford to take some of your star men off and rest them for that huge Newcastle game. So he brought Townsend on. And you know what? To be fair, it was a great bit of link-up play actually between Cenk Tosun and Alex Iwobi. Just right at the death. In added time, Tosun does well to hold it up there, just to the corner of the Gladys Street, and plays a good ball into Alex Iwobi, and he gets it. It's a great touch from Alex Iwobi. To be fair to him, I'm not one of Alex Iwobi's biggest fans by any stretch, but he plays into Townsend. The Townsend just picks his spot and finishes it off for 4-1, and it's a really astounding victory for Everton. A really comfortable win. I can't even remember the last time we put 4 past the side. I think it was in the FA Cup last year against Tottenham. And we certainly haven't seen free-flowing attacking football like that for a long, long, long time. So, your first impression, Frank Lampard's first game, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic, I think. He's only had a few days with the squad, and the difference was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable, the difference in tempo, in quality. And as I say, it's only been, a week with that squad, if that. And, that's testament to Frank Lampard. That's testament to the backroom staff. And hopefully we can take a lot of confidence from this game into these, arguably season-defining games this upcoming week, really, isn't it? Yeah. So I mentioned earlier in the week that this was a good opportunity for us to, get a bit of positivity back into the club. It's a good chance before going back into the Premier League. Everyone loves the FA Cup, and it represents a great opportunity for success, and it's a welcome distraction from the league, certainly this season anyway. So yeah, 4-1. Lampard was delighted. The fans were delighted. The players, I've never seen the players look so happy in so long either. So it's going to do them the world to go into that Newcastle game. And Frank Lampard, he couldn't have got off to a better start, really. He's been saying all the right things in his press conferences. He's been saying all the right things in his interviews. And a lot of people are really hoping to buy into this philosophy Frank wants to impose onto the club. And if we can go into that game Tuesday night and just take a lot more confidence than we have been recently, then 3 points, you'd like to think we can start pulling away from that dreaded relegation zone with him. If we can get a result, if we can get at least 4 points of these next 2 games, even though we really do need 6, then it's starting to look a lot brighter for us. But the most important thing will be beating the teams around us, because if you are in a relegation fight like we are, it's vital that you beat the teams in and around you. So yeah, as I said before, we are hoping that we will be joined by Paul McAllister at some point in this stream. It's not looking likely at the moment, but here's hoping that he might get involved. If you are watching, just drop a comment if you want, and we'll try and get into some if we can. Thoughts on the Newcastle game? What positives can we take into that game? What does Frank do with his team? Will Calvert-Lewin be back? Does Calvert-Lewin get in that side? Do you change a winning side? There's a lot of questions still to be answered. And of course, I mentioned earlier about the new signings in Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli. Really unfortunate that we couldn't see them in the game. Even El Ghazi as well. It would have been nice to maybe give him a run out, but because of this cup tide rule, we weren't able to do so. But yeah, just on Tuesday night, we're under no illusions. I think the manager's under no illusions either how big a game it is. We're currently just teetering just on the top of the relegation zone, and Newcastle, just below us. So, if we lose that game, then we really are in trouble, aren't we? But as I previously mentioned, we can take a lot of positives into this game following the result yesterday. It'll be interesting to see actually if he does throw Dele Alli and Van der Beek in from the off. I can't see it personally. I think they may be on the bench. But one thing's for sure is that we really needed reinforcements in that position, especially if we are looking at Decore still out for a couple more weeks, and you know I don't think you can rely on Allen and Gomez, despite them being tremendous yesterday. You can't keep expecting that standard from them every week, as we've seen. Um, but yeah, it, it'll be interesting because there was no Calvert-Lewin yesterday. I think that's worth mentioning. He was a doubt going into the game. So a lot of people probably read in between the lines and think that this is to keep him fresh and fit for the Newcastle game. Um, Personally, I think Calvert-Lewin will be off in the summer. I think he's plotting his next move already. That's not to say that he's not injured. I think he probably is injured. He's been carrying a lot of nickels all season, really, hasn't he? It's not been a campaign to remember for. Well, it's not been a campaign to remember for anyone, but especially not for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So is it a chance for Richarlison to maybe start stepping up again now because he took his goal really well, and we know Richarlison's a player who he, he thrives off when he gets on the score sheet, and we see Richarlison at his best when he's in a rich vein of form, and he's getting in amongst the goals. So it will be interesting to see what sort of side Frank Lampard goes with on Tuesday night, because I feel like every single player who played in the Brentford game yesterday, they completely did themselves justice, and they really stake a claim into being in the starting 11. The Epic H88 says DCL is a doubt for Newcastle as well. Might make it in time. Yeah, well, as I just mentioned, if that is the case, it's going to be disappointing because we know Calvert-Lewin's a player who can, he's a top scorer for the last few seasons, so he's always going to be a miss. But if we can get tune out Richarlison, then maybe it won't be too big of an absence. But as I say before, I reiterate that I think Calvert-Lewin will leave this summer. I think we will see him an exit, whether that be to Arsenal, a side that's been mentioned quite a lot, or abroad, or one of the other Premier League Elite Six, or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, going into that Newcastle game, I think he's got some decisions to make. Not only just the new signings, but a lot of players have staked a claim in that side. I thought Andre Gomez was fantastic yesterday. Thought Allen was fantastic. I'd even go as far to say Mason Holgate had a really good game. Michael Keane didn't look as petrified on the ball. I still feel like he's got too many mistakes in him, and that goes for Mason Holgate as well. But too many of the goals that we have conceded this season have come from silly mistakes, silly errors. So if we can cut them out of our game, then we are on for the winner already. And we didn't see an awful lot of glaring errors yesterday. Everyone looked like they booked their ideas up a little bit, and I think that just comes from confidence as well. The first goal yesterday was so important, wasn't it? And as soon as we got that, you can just see it was infectious. The confidence they took from that. And if we can take that into these upcoming games, then we will be flying. Just another point as well, the draw for the fifth round was made today. We are going to be playing either Bournemouth or Boreham Wood. The winners of that game will come to Goodison Park to compete for the place in the quarterfinals. Who would have thought we'd be saying that? Yes, that they kick off at 6:30 tonight, so we'll be watching that with interest. It'd be nice to see Boreham Wood come to Goodison Park, but if it is Bournemouth, which would probably be the favourites to come and compete for that quarter-final spot with us, then that's going to be a tricky tie. It's going to be a really tricky tie. Bournemouth can hurt us. We've been hit a few times by Bournemouth in the past. The last time they played at Goodison Park on the final day of the 1920 season, they beat us 3-1. So they know that they can beat us. They've done it before. Form goes out the window in the FA Cup, as we all know. So I feel like if it is Bournemouth, then we can't be under any illusions that won't be a tricky tie, because it will be a really difficult one. But as I say, if we can beat, qualifying that game, then we're in a quarter final, then, aren't we? And then we're one game away from Wembley. And I don't want to make the mistake that we play, that a lot of Evertonians make all the time, and get ahead of ourselves. And it's only one game and this, that, and the other. But if we get another favourable, if we can come out the other end of that Bournemouth or Boreham Wood game, then if we get another home tie, and there's some tempting teams still left in that competition as well. Let's not forget. So if we can get one of those in the quarter final, then you're at Wembley then, aren't you? And then from that point onwards, anything can really happen, especially if we do get to that semi-final stage. But as I say, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Lampard's played one game, albeit we played tremendously well, but Brentford, they were quite underwhelming, really, to be honest. I feel like if we played the way we did yesterday and just pressed Brentford in the reverse fixture, but of course Benitez wouldn't have any of that, would he? We would have comfortably beat them. They're not. I don't think they're that great of a side, Brentford. I think we fully deserved the win. Brentford were quite disappointing, actually, I thought. But it is what it is. So could we have an FA Cup run on our hands? Hopefully. I was listening to the draw today. I was petrified at the fact that we could have got, it's always in the back of your minds that you're going to get drawn at Liverpool or a Man City or Chelsea. But, sometimes if you are going to be successful in these kinds of competitions and you want to lift a bit of silverware, then you do need to dump out one of the big boys. And we've seen, it's been a great weekend of FA Cup football, really, hasn't it? We've seen on Friday night Manchester United, they were dumped out the cup by Middlesbrough. West Ham sailed very close to the win. Kidderminster was tremendously unlucky. Even Chelsea as well. Plymouth did so well to get that goal and hang on for as long as they did. But I think quality always shows through in the end, doesn't it? And I'm not quite sure what the Nottingham Forest score is at the minute, but I'll watch the first half of that, and they were 3-1 up last time I checked. So you could be looking at Leicester exiting the competition as well. So a lot of the big boys have or are looking like they could go out, but there's still a lot of teams left that can hurt us. But having said that, we did get a home draw, and so far it's been quite a favourable FA Cup campaign. Hull City, Brentford, Bournemouth or Bournemouth. And you never know if we can get past that fifth round tie, then you never know what's gonna be awaiting at the quarterfinal stage, especially if you get a home draw. I think you get a home draw, you've always got a chance, haven't you? So it's a welcome distraction from the league, the FA Cup. It always is. There's always been a big romance associated with Everton in the cup. So if we can, take it as far as we can, that'd be great. How ironic would it be? Frank Lampard, the man who scored the winning goal in the 2009 FA Cup final 13 years later, be guiding Everton back to Wembley. But like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself. We've just won a game and making the age-old mistake of getting sucked back in by them. It could be all tears Tuesday night, and then we'll be back to square one. But hopefully that's not the case at all. So attention goes now to Newcastle. As I say, Lampard, he seems in his interviews, he's always seemed very pragmatic, very calm, composed, and he's reiterated the point that he just deals with what's in front of him, and what's in front of him is a huge game. It's a relegation 6-pointer. But as I say previously, it was encouraging at the fact that we had this game against Brentford as an opportunity to get a 90 minutes in front of the fans at Goodison Park, put in a good performance, and take that into that Newcastle game, which is it's only gonna be a positive thing. But yeah, huge game Tuesday night. So as I say, we probably will be wrapping this stream up quite soon. Doesn't look like we may not be joined by Paul tonight. So we just jumped on quickly just to discuss, that great win yesterday, what that does for us going forward. A huge week ahead for the club of what's, it's been a disastrous season so far. Let's make no mistake about that. But it's just good that we can have reason to be optimistic again. I think it was Goodison Park was back to its best yesterday. And it lived up to the hype. I think it's fair to say it lived up to the hype. I think the club tried to maybe recreate a bit of the atmosphere from when Duncan Ferguson took charge against Aston Villa. They tried to recreate the Chelsea game, but it just didn't really work, did it? There was too much animosity going on at the club at that stage, and this appointment of Lampard has just really brought the fans together. And I think that showed in the ground yesterday. Everyone it was just so nice to be back in Goodison Park and just seeing Everton just put in a good display, win well, and just see a manager on the touchline who just looks so passionate. That was a big thing for me as well. Looking at Frank Lampard, when people say, "Oh, he's a Chelsea at heart. He's Chelsea this, Chelsea that." But seeing him celebrate some of them goals yesterday, it was like he's been an Evertonian all his life. It was great to see that. We've had too many managers that are just. The thing is with Everton, Everton are a club where we want to be able to connect with a manager. We want to be able to connect with a figurehead, someone who leads the team, someone who we can really get behind. And that was Duncan Ferguson for a while, and there were calls for him to take the job. But it's just really good that we've seen Frank Lampard come in, and he looks like someone the fans can get behind as well. As I say, for too long we've had managers come in who have just been a bit too cold. Benitez especially. Um, no one could warm to him. No one could really get behind him. I don't think I ever remember seeing him celebrate a goal. And just seeing that passion from Lampard, I mentioned the word passion again. It's infectious, and it was infectious in the whole stadium yesterday. And Frank Lampard really bought into it, and I think the fans are really buying into him as a manager as well now. Uh, as I say, it's just great that we're all pulling in the same direction again. I know it's early days, I know it's one game, but it's just great to see us, not be divided, and fans fighting amongst each other and protesting and this, that, and the other. And don't get me wrong, the protests are completely right. A lot of accountability has to be held by the board. But we all know this. I don't want to come on this stream tonight and just go over all grounds. We want to keep it positive. Following yesterday's win. Um, G Gamba says Yerry Mina is essential to have strong defence and winning matches. Yeah, well, we seem to. It's no secret that we have a better record with Yerry Mina in the side than without. Took his goal really well yesterday. He's got goals in him from set pieces. We know this. He's a strong defender. I thought he had a great game yesterday when he came on. I think he was only on the bench due to him coming back from international duty with Colombia. But it's the age-old problem with Yerry Mina, isn't it? It's like his biggest weakness is his fitness. And Yerry Mina can score as many goals from corners as he wants, and he can be the best defender of the club. But if he's not fit and he's playing a few games every few months, then it's not going to take us forward. But listen, I love Yerry Mina. I think he is the best centre half of the club, and I think it'd be a mistake for the club not to offer him a new contract. But as I say, it's frustrating with Mina, isn't it? His fitness issues, and it's something that's definitely going to have to be ironed out, especially if we're looking at Ben Godfrey being out for a little period of time now. Then you've got the option of Jared Branthwaite as well. Let's not forget. He's really impressed when he's played for Everton. For me, he was really good against Chelsea, wasn't he? Earlier in the year, earlier in the season, I should say. So maybe he could get his chance now. But it's all about impressing the new manager, isn't it? It's all about impressing the new manager. It's a clean slate for a lot of players, so we'll see what happens. Matty says, "Do you think he'll change formation on Tuesday? Frank likes to use different formations against different teams. Sometimes maybe a 4-3-3, possibly. He could tap into that. I think maybe some of his thinking, the fact that he did play three centre halves on the Brentford game was because it was very much a must not lose game as well, because if he gets off to a terrible start, then we're looking at more negativity. But he's 4-3-3, yeah, possibly. I think he's definitely gonna have to sort out the defence. It was I think Mykolenko was impressive. He did impress me, so I think we'll probably see him at left back. It's an interesting with Patterson. I don't think you can throw Patterson into a game like that against Newcastle. So I think you probably start Coleman again, and then it's just a case of who partners Yerry Mina, I think. So whether that be Keane or Holgate, I'm not sure. The three in the midfield. Again, it depends, doesn't it? It depends if he's going to bring some of these new signings in. I'd like to see a 4-3-3. I feel like we are going to see Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray get even better under Frank Lampard. I do think that. I do believe they will get better. So if they can, play off Richarlison in that central striker role, then it could be an option. But as you say, Frank does like to use different formations against different teams, and that can only be to our benefit, can't it? So if you can keep teams guessing, unlike Benitez, and just play the same thing doesn't work week in, week out, then you're going to get caught out, aren't you? But with Frank, it'll be interesting to see how Frank sets up, because this is his first Premier League game, isn't it? As I say, it was great for him to get bedded in with the FA Cup, but you know the Premier League's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? Especially with the position we're in at the minute. So again, it'll be interesting to see what squad he selects in that game. Ganders has agreed, but he's our better option at the moment. Oh yeah, I agree, 100%. He is. He's the best centre half of the club, Yeremina. And when fit, he needs to play. That goes without saying. It's a case of who partners Yeremina for me. Because if he's fit, he's got to play. But when is he fit? That's the only problem. Yeah, so if we can get past Newcastle, then you've got obviously the challenge of Leeds United on Saturday. But as I say, Frank said in his press conference, hasn't he, that he can only play what's in front of him. And fair enough, that is the position we're in. He can only play what's in front of him, can't he? So yeah, a lot's been made about the team. And a lot's been made about the midfield as well. You know, Matty said before, do you think maybe he'll go for a 4-3-3? Who plays in that three? You know, Gomez and Allen had great games, but you know you've got Ali and Van de Beek there as well, and fans will be wanting to see these players because these are players who can make a difference. It's looking like the core I probably miss out. He's still possibly another couple of weeks away. So if he does play 4-3-3, then it depends how he sets up. If he's going to go attacking, Matty says Alan Gomez and Van de Beek would be a solid three in the middle in a 4-3-3. Yeah, it would. And to be honest, I could probably see that happening. You know, as I say, Alan Gomez and had tremendous games yesterday. The best I've seen him in a while. I think Alan, usually he's better when he's playing in a three where he doesn't have to do a lot of the running. So if he can play just in front of the back four, and then let Van de Beek and Gomez do a lot of the other work, then that could be an option. I think if we are going to see either Van de Beek or Ali play, I think it's going to be Van de Beek from the start possibly, and maybe Dele Alli will come in off the bench at some point in the game. But yeah, we'll have to see on that one. Semi Charm says greetings, fellow Blues. Yeah, it probably is just quite a short and sweet stream tonight, to be honest. Just going over the game yesterday and previewing what's upcoming, the new signings and stuff. We did think we were going to be joined by Paul McAllister, but it's looking unlikely at this stage now that we'll be joined by Paul tonight. We'll definitely get some more content out with Paul in the coming weeks and days. There'll be a lot of reaction surrounding the Newcastle game on Tuesday. A lot of build up to that on what represents a huge game for this club. Yeah, so if Semi Charm says, love the intensity and passion Frank showed yesterday. Yeah, we mentioned that before, didn't we, about how much it gets everyone a lot more fired up, having someone on the touchline who's a lot more out there and passionate. I hate to use the example, but you look at the likes of Jurgen Klopp. He's raw passion. Fans relate to it. It's infectious. It goes back to the players. Jaden says, loved how Lampard came in and changed everything. Yeah, as I said at the start of the stream, it was like a different side, and we should in such a short space of time as well. It's like night and day, isn't it? It's looked like Paul McAllister is here now. Be great to be joined by Paul as always with his thoughts. We're going to add him to the stream now. Hopefully you can hear us okay. Can you hear us okay, Paul?
I can hear you, mate. Can you see how red my face is? Sorry, mate. I should have been on from the start with you. It's just been one of those Sundays. I've been on the phone for the past half.
Don't worry about it. We're here.
I'm here now. Yeah.
He's here, Paul. But yeah, we've just been going over the game yesterday, Paul, and we've been talking about how different something can be in such a short space of time, and without having even that long with the players, and it was like night and day. So now you're in. What's your thoughts on the game yesterday?
It was like watching a completely different club to what we've been watching the last 4 or 5 months, really, hasn't it? I wouldn't say the storm clouds are totally lifted because it was an FA Cup game. It was something of a free hit. We've still got the most important work to do on Tuesday when we play Newcastle in that big 6-pointer. But it felt good for once just to go to Goodison and come out of Goodison with everyone smiling. didn't it? I mean, I didn't go to the game myself, but I saw the reaction on social media. I spoke to my brother-in-law who was at the game, and it just everyone was saying the same thing. Just everyone came out the stadium with feeling good about going to about coming away from an Everton match for the first time in what feels like ages. And as I caught some of the comments you were mentioning then, just some little things that made all the difference in the world. Seeing a manager there on the touchline who was kicking the ball with the fans, celebrating goals, coaches getting up off the touchline, giving instructions to the players, rather than just seeing just a dour, expressionless at times older man in Benitez, in the sense that I think he's in his 60s now, and he's not the most expressive of people anyway, is he? Just that sort of seeing that figure on the touchline, even if he wasn't who he is, and we weren't having the results we were getting under him, it wasn't particularly inspiring at all, was it? So
yeah, absolutely. The thing is, you mentioned there going to Goodison and watching Everton win, but watching Everton win well as well. It was like it was so comfortable. I can't remember the last time we won a game so comfortably, and we just put an opposition that we should be beating to bed.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all easy, was it? I mean, the first 30 minutes or so, it was a bit anxious.
The first goal changed a lot, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
The first goal went in, it changed the complexion of the game.
I wasn't at the game, but I've spoken to people who were, and I've read all the post-match reports. And I was following the game as it was happening as well on the Twitter timeline. And Goodison was its typical self for the first 20 minutes, half an hour, wasn't it? Especially after Godfrey went off with an injury. Everyone's got a lot of anxiety. It can be very, very quiet. People are just waiting for some sort of flashpoint in order to kick off their emotions. And we've had that under numerous managers, watching numerous teams against numerous opposition over the last few years. But yeah, the goal made all the difference in the world. And how long has it been since we actually went up in a game? Was it Arsenal when we went ahead for the remaining few minutes? What was it for full time?
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it? Yeah,
I can't remember the first time we took the lead in a game where we were probably in the first half, or we were early into the second half, where there was a lot of time left and fans had to
Norwich took the lead against us. I think Burnley took the lead against us as well. It's the first time in
Liverpool. Brighton, Aston Villa. I can't remember Southampton. It feels like an eternity ago that we actually were the team to strike first in a game, wasn't it? And the fans had to kind of can celebrate it, but also temper themselves a little bit, thinking, right, that's not the winning goal. That's just a goal that's got our foot ahead. We've got to get behind the players now. We've got to make sure that they carry this pressure on and they can go on and get another one. So it was really, really good. And I thought Frank made some interesting selections, or some interesting non-selections. We'll touch on them in a minute. But yeah, it was just exactly what the doctor ordered, wasn't it? In the sense of, we got everything every Evertonian wanted out of that. We got a manager who looked bothered on the touchline. We had coaches who looked like they were making a difference in terms of how the players were reacting on the pitch. I saw Paul Clement getting up, kind of telling players what to do when the set pieces were were coming in. He was up on the touchline yelling instructions. We got players who needed a goal, got a goal. The only really black spot on it really was Godfrey getting injured. But other than that, you couldn't have asked for more really yesterday, could you?
No, not at all. No, and you mentioned there the coaches, and just before you joined us, then we were talking about Frank Lampard now. Like, when you see a manager on the touchline who's just showing that passion, for too long we've had managers who just haven't really got up for it. And when you see a manager like that, and knowing that man's in your corner and that man's celebrating for the sake of the club, like a fan. And we've seen it so many times in the past with Duncan Ferguson, and everyone jumps on it, and it's infectious, isn't it, Paul? Like, you see something like that, it's like a figurehead, and then something that the club can really get behind, because we've needed something to get behind, haven't we? It's been so divided recently, and so people are just having different opinions on things and pulling in different directions. But seeing a young, fresh, hungry manager on the touchline like that, celebrating them goals, you can't help but just get on board with that, can you?
Yeah, that's the word, infectious, isn't it? I can't remember. I mean, well, I think Martinez in his first season was the last time we had an infectious manager who everyone was happy to feed off him and get on board with his positive energy. I mean, it ended up biting him on the backside in the end, because in the second and the third seasons, especially when we weren't playing well and we weren't getting results and we weren't doing what everyone was hoping we were going to do, his positivity kind of just annoyed people in the end. But managers who've
Yeah.
come after him, they've all been not that type of character at all. Koeman
Very
wasn't
cold, very cold.
Koeman was very. He's been this way at every club he's been at. Koeman's not infectious at all.
Dry,
He's very
yeah.
stone faced, dry. Then we had Allardyce, who can be infectious to people who like him.
Bit of an arrogance.
I'm not going to say Allardyce is not infectious, because he has been infectious at certain clubs in his career. I'm sure Sunderland fans would say he's infectious. I'm sure Bolton fans would say he's infectious. Maybe Blackburn, because he did well there for a time. But he wasn't the type of personality who Evertonians would find infectious, was he? And then after that, we had Marco Silva, who I think wanted to be infectious, but Marco Silva just didn't have the charisma or the communication skills to kind of get across his points a lot of the time. And that more than anything is what I think cost him being Everton manager in the end. The fact that he wasn't able to convince fans to kind of get on board with his ideas and take him seriously. And then after Marco Silva, we had Ancelotti. Ancelotti could be infectious too, but it wasn't naturally his way. He's another cool customer, isn't he? Very calm personality in terms of doesn't get too up, doesn't get too down, likes to just analyse things in the cold light of day. And then we just had Benitez, who's probably the least infectious of all of them. Not an infectious bone in his body, as far as I'm concerned. So, it's the type of manager who's very easy to get behind, isn't it? Especially when you're from this part of the world. You mentioned why Liverpool fans love it with Klopp so much. I think Evertonians, just in the sense that we're from Merseyside and we've got that type, or the surrounding areas, the northwest of England. We're just the type of people naturally who get behind that sort of thing. We like people who've got a bit of fire. We like people who express their emotions. We like
wear
people
the heart on the sleeve, innit?
Heart on the sleeve type people. We don't like characters who kind of close themselves off on purpose, which is what a lot of these managers have done. It's just very hard to relate to, because there's not many people, I think, who are naturally that way. So it was just brilliant seeing Frank get as into it as he did. And I saw his wife was there, Christine Bleakley, and she said some lovely things as well. I think she came up on the screen. I was told that she was getting really into it with the fans as well. So it was just a very, very upbeat atmosphere, wasn't it? After the first goal, and that's what everyone needs after all the shit that's gone on over the last few months.
Yeah, I think you just knew, didn't you? Like straight away, the whole Benitez ball was totally out the window. We just seemed more direct. We just seemed so much more positive. We just wanted to get forward. We didn't look petrified when we passed the halfway line. It's like we didn't know what to do with the ball. We actually, played forward passes, and we created chances, which is something
showed a bit of bravery.
Really lacking for us.
Yeah,
bravery. That's the word. Yeah, that's the
that
word.
Clip's
bravery.
Been going around, hasn't it? That clip of Frank in his first session where he said, "Enjoy the ball, enjoy the ball," and Benitez didn't want us to have any of the ball under him, did he? Marco Silva didn't really seem like he had any idea what the team should be doing when we did have the ball. Don't know what his kind of philosophy is in terms of football, what his vision is that for everyone to buy into. That's always been another problem of his. So if you said to someone, "What's Marco Silva football?" I couldn't tell you personally. Koeman as well. Koeman didn't really have a distinct style as Everton manager. He just, other than just lump it up to Lukaku and hope Lukaku can do something. So, I was glad to see for the first time in about 6-7 years an Everton team actually look like they're enjoying being in possession. They look like they're enjoying getting at teams and attacking. Like they really want to get the fans off the seat type things, rather than just waiting for moments to capitalise on, which is what we've been doing under the likes of Allardyce and the likes of Benitez. We were just trying to win 50-50s and stay compact. And there is a place for that in football. There are times when I think we definitely should be doing that. Because you should always play the game that's in front of you. And there's some games where that's probably the best approach to do it. But the vast majority of games, especially the ones at Goodison, Evertonians want to see the team being proactive rather than just playing within themselves.
Yeah, exactly. You make a good point there as well. It felt very much like it was the first time in so long that like we performed like the home team, and we dictated the tempo. We put our mark on the game. Players moving off the ball, looking to create chances all the time. And even the set pieces as well. I thought the set pieces were really impressive. 2 of our goals came from great Damari great corners. You mentioned there we've got a whole new backroom staff like Paul Clements and everyone. Who's if this is what the sort of standards that they're drilling into them, then it can only be a good thing going forward. It was the set pieces it was like night and day. Like previously we couldn't beat the first man. Even defending them as well. Like it seems like zonal marking's gone out the window as well.
Oh, thank God!
So much more. It's just so much more positive as well. One thing you did touch on before was there's a few with the team selection, a few omissions that we'd be surprised as. Do you want to elaborate on that? Was it Nathan Patterson you were thinking of, maybe, or are you surprised to see Seamus Coleman start the game, or was it someone else you had in mind?
I was hoping we'd see Patterson, but I trust Frank. If Frank doesn't think he's ready yet, or this wasn't the right game to put him in, then that's fair enough. He is very young and he's a long-term up buy, isn't he? I think that's something Everton haven't done enough of over the last however many long, even going back to the David Moyes era. I don't think we bought enough players with the view that we're not going to put them in straight away. The players who are going to be in and around the first team, they are going to get minutes throughout the season, but they're not going to be automatic first choice starters. We are going to use them where and when we want to, rather than just throwing them in straight away and hoping that they can cope. So if whenever Patterson's fit time will come, I'll be happy with that, because I trust Frank to know what Patterson's levels are right now and when Patterson is the right option for us to play ahead of Seamus Coleman. I don't want to sound like I want to bang on about this for every video, but I noticed that Solomon Rondon wasn't even in the matchday squad. I don't know if he's injured or not. If he wasn't injured, then I think that's very, very telling. The fact that even though the two signings we had who got unveiled were cup tied and couldn't play, even though Frank Lampard was still using the exact same options that Benitez and Ferguson had available to them, he still chose not to use a striker who has been appalling for us. So I'm hoping that that's the end of that, lads. I'm going to say lad. He's in his 30s, isn't he? And he looks even older, and he plays like he's even older than that. So I'm hoping that's a case of the man Lampard's come in and seeing what every Evertonian's been seeing for months and months now, which is he's got no use at all and doesn't want to basically just play him because he's got a good relationship with him, like Benitez was doing. So there was no Solomon Rondon, which can only be a good thing. We saw Mina back in the team. I thought Mina was on the bench, wasn't he? He came on because of the situation with Godfrey. But if I thought that if Mina wasn't fit enough to start the game, or they didn't want to start him, I thought we probably would have just put him in the team. So I thought Frank would have maybe held him back and played him on Tuesday instead, rather than risk putting him on the bench. But it was good to see him available on the bench, and it was good to see him get on the pitch and get minutes again. And he didn't look like he was carrying any sort of niggles or anything. He looked fully fit, and then he looked like he could have started the game if Frank had wanted him to, which was really, really encouraging. So hopefully he'll be fully fit to come and play on Tuesday now against Newcastle, because having him on the pitch could make all the difference in the world. So it was good to see, wasn't it? There was a lot of nice surprises, and I just can't say it enough. It just felt like the mood around Goodison was just
so fresh, wasn't it?
So fresh, that's the word. Fresh, encouraging, green shoots of recovery finally after so much negativity and so much to be worried about and so much to just feel down about. It felt good the first time in a long time.
So obviously it's a huge week ahead for the club. Massive week, 2 huge games for us. We could argue that the season defining. I mentioned briefly before that we were quite fortunate in a way that this game came when it did, an opportunity for Frank to get in front of the Goodison crowd. It was a game to get his ideas across and get a bit of confidence under our belts before that big game on Tuesday night. So how does this? How can we take this forward now into that Newcastle game? Because we simply need to win that game, don't we? So are you? Obviously, I assume you're a lot more confident going into this game than you were
I am
this
now.
time 2 weeks ago. So what do you think we're going to see that Tuesday night then? How much of a bearing will this game have on that?
I don't care what we see as long as we win the game and we come away with 3 points. I don't care if they hammer us and we have to throw them around behind the ball and we get a dodgy goal because it goes off the back of a Newcastle player's arse. The result is what matters the most. But seeing what I saw yesterday, I don't have any reason to worry now that we could go there and just completely fold. Frank should be saying to every one of those players, you've just battered Brentford, and Brentford are a far better team than Newcastle are. You've just battered Brentford. Newcastle have absolutely nothing that you should be scared about. You shouldn't be going up to St James's Park and in any way anxious or in any way worried that this game could get away from you very quick, because Newcastle, they're not a good side. I know they've spent a lot of money in this January transfer window, but again, they're in the same boat as we are with our new signings. They're not absolute bankers that they're going to come in and improve their side to any massive degree, are they? They could come in and flop. I know they're throwing money around, but I think they got that lad from Lyon, didn't they, for 40 odd million? He could come in and not suit the Premier League at all, or he could come in and be brilliant. But I think this result yesterday against Brentford should be a sign to all the players to say Frank shouldn't even have to say it. They should be saying it to themselves on Tuesday night when we go up to play Newcastle. we should be going there thinking we can absolutely do a job on them because we've just done a job on Brentford, and this lot are not as good as Brentford are. They're not that the league table doesn't like.
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with what you just said. Of course, I have got to ask you about. I assume you've seen the draw today. The fifth round is going to be Bournemouth or Boreham Wood. They kick off in about 20 minutes' time. Is it too early to start getting a little bit excited about the prospect of a cup run?
I think so.
Win that game against Boreham Wood or Bournemouth. We are in a quarter final competing for the place at Wembley. Are we getting too ahead of ourselves, or do you feel like this? It's a welcome. Is it a welcome distraction, this, or do you feel we could actually maybe see us do something in this competition this year?
Obviously, we'd love it. We'd all love a cup run, and Frank Lampard does ours an FA Cup, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But but I don't want it to be a distraction because I don't want to be Wigan. I don't want to be a team that goes all the way and wins a cup and then ends up getting relegated, because that cup means nothing then if you go down. At least it wouldn't mean anything for me. No, it's a good draw. I'd have been happy with any home draw, to be honest, as long as it wasn't Man City, Liverpool, or Chelsea. As long as it was at home, then I think any draw we get would be classed as good if it's at Goodison now under this new manager and under this new mood that everyone's got now after that result. So if you'd have offered me that draw beforehand, because let's face it, unless something absolutely incredible happens, it's going to be Bournemouth, isn't it? So playing a championship team at home, I'm over the moon with that. I'd have snapped your hands off of that beforehand. And as you said, if we go there and just do what we should be doing, then it's a place in the quarterfinals, isn't it? And then when you get to the quarterfinals, you look at who else is left in the competition.
You're competing for the place at Wembley, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, you can look who else is in the competition, and then you can maybe start thinking about, okay, is this realistic this year, or is it not realistic? Because if we get through to the quarterfinal and the likes of Liverpool, City, Chelsea, if they're all still in it, then it's a good, you still wouldn't bet on Everton going all the way and winning it. I mean, stranger things have happened, but if we get to the quarterfinal and the likes of those three teams are not in it anymore, or two of them have gone out, and you're looking around and you think, right, there's only maybe one or two big hitters, and every other team in it, they're just as good, if not worse than us, and we can beat them on any given day, then you can let yourself get excited. But the cup shouldn't take precedence over the league. Not at this moment in time. If we get 3 or 4 wins under our belt and we get well clear the relegation zone, then maybe we can start just putting all our energy into the cup. But I don't want to do that just yet. We need to win some games first. We need to get that Newcastle game won. We need to win the game after that, and the game after that. And if that happens, if we can get we still on 19 points.
Yeah.
If we can get to 30 plus or to 30 within the next 5-6 weeks, then I think that's pretty much we'll be away from relegation, and we don't have to worry about the last few weeks of the season. But for now, the cup's just something nice there to distract us, but it can't be something that we put all our emotions in and put the majority of our focus on. We can't be Wigan. We can't be this team that goes all the way to Wembley and then maybe wins it, but then we're still in the middle of a relegation dogfight that we end up going down. No. Okay, so are you there? Oh, you're still here, mate. Yeah. So summing up, I'd love to win the cup, and that is a very good draw we've got, and hopefully we get another good draw after that, and so we can all go to Wembley. But I don't want to go to Wembley for a day out. I want to go to Wembley to win. But if you had offered me a choice of going to Wembley and winning, or guaranteeing that Everton don't go down, I'd pick Everton not going down every day. You're on mute, mate. Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, he's dropped off. So I'm gonna have to substitute because I've been late. So it's my turn to be on my own. Frank Lampard, though, I think Frank Lampard's the type of manager who could win us a trophy. If not this year, then maybe the next 2 or 3 years. If a lot of things go to plan, if he's backed, if he gets the signings that he wants, if he's able to shift some of the dead wood, I think Frank Lampard, he got to a final with a Chelsea team and he won loads of trophies as a manager. He knows what it takes to get through big pressure ties, to win matches where your back's up against the wall. I mean, he went to Barcelona and with 10 men, knocked out Barcelona in the Champions League semi-final, and then went on to win the final in Munich against Bayern Munich. And he's won other things like UEFA Cups under that Paella Tits, whatever he was called, when he was hell-bent on them not winning it. You're back, mate. I can hear you now.
I'm back. Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
I was saying, I'm confident that if Frank's here for quite a while, like as in 5-6 years, if not longer, then Frank could get us to a trophy, or at least get us very, very close to one, because I think he's got the mind to win a trophy because he's won so many as a player, and I think he's got the backroom staff who could win us a trophy because Paul Clements won trophies as an assistant. Ashley Cole's won trophies as a player. They know what it takes to get through these big pressure ties against teams that you're necessarily not the favourites in. So whereas Marco Silva, what have Marco Silva ever won, or what are Eddie?
We've got a management team now. We've got a management team and a backroom staff full of winners, and that's a really important thing.
And I trust the backroom staff we got now to come up with a plan. So if we did end up getting City or Liverpool or Chelsea in a quarter-final or a semi-final or maybe even a final, I've got faith that our manager and his backroom team could come up with a game plan to maybe win us that game. It would be tough going because they've got stronger squads than they are, and we'd need a lot of luck. We'd need to have our full-strength team available to us. But if we were in at 100% against the likes of Liverpool or Chelsea or City in a semi-final, I'd be very optimistic. I wouldn't very hopeful. I wouldn't say confident, but I'd be very hopeful that we could pull it off because I think we've got the people in place who could come up with a game plan and could tell the players all the right things that they need to hear in order to go out there and get the job done. Whereas if we got to a semi-final under Marco Silva, I couldn't imagine Marco Silva kind of outwitting the likes of Guardiola,
players,
or
players,
or
none of that.
Same would apply if under Koeman or even Martinez. Martinez had easy semi-finals to win and bottled both of them. So I'm. It doesn't have to be this season. We'd all love it if Frank can take us all the way and maybe give us a cup this season, or at least give us a cup run to enjoy. But even if we go out in the next round, I'm confident that we'll enjoy some cup runs under Frank if he's here for the long haul.
Yeah, I mean, let's not be under no illusions. It's only one game, and we are still, and we probably will still be between now and the end of the season, picking up the pieces of Benitez's reign. And the most important thing is staying in the league. You know, there's no two ways about it. That has to be the priority, and I completely agree with that. But the cup, we'll see what happens. We've got a very favourable draw in the last 16, and you never know. There's some favourable teams left in the competition. If we can get another home draw in the quarters, then you never know what's going to happen. But we do need to reiterate that the most important thing is we need picking up our league form now, and that was a great chance yesterday to take confidence into this huge week, and hopefully we can. Just quickly before we wrap up, Paul, do you think what your thoughts on Dele Alli and Van der Beek? Do you think we're going to see them make appearances on Tuesday night?
I think we'll see Dele Alli. Van der Beek, it depends where he is fitness-wise, because I don't think he's played a lot of football over the last few months, has he? It just depends. If they're both fit enough to start, then I imagine they probably will, because especially with Donny Van der Beek, we've only got him on loan, so there's no point holding him back. If he's fit to go, we might as well just put him out there and see what he can do and get our use out of him. Whereas Dele Alli, if Frank wanted to take his time with him a little bit more, then we can afford to do that because Dele Alli's a permanent signing. It's not a case of, well, if we don't see what Dele Alli's like between now and the end of the season, we'll have to just send him back, and then we'll be wondering, thinking, what was the point of even getting that loan? But no, I think we are going to see both of them, and I'd like to see both of them because I've seen enough of Dele Alli down the years to know that he could turn up and if he felt like it, make mincemeat of a crap Newcastle defence. Do you know what I mean? And you're hoping that Van der Beek, with all his experience, because he's played for big clubs like Ajax and he's played the Champions League and he's played for United, not as much as he'd have liked to, but he's still played games for United in big pressure moments, that he'll go to Newcastle and not be fazed the least bit, no matter how much is riding on it. So I'm hoping we see the both of them, but I think all this stuff people slagging off what Dele Alli was wearing is just nonsense. It's just bitter old men who, in my opinion... As
if we've not got bigger problems at the minute.
Yeah, I think I've seen the likes of Alan Brazil and now Glenn Hoddle as well, typing up on it. For me, they're just bitter old men who, if Dele Alli was a working class white kid, they wouldn't be saying what they were saying. I thought it was a bit out of order the way they were commenting on his clothes. But forget them, Evertonians, just ignore them. They're just stupid old men trying to create content and trying to get attention for themselves. And they can't slag Everton off because Everton played well, didn't they? And they can't slag off Dele Alli and Donny van der Beek for the performances because they didn't play. So they were just looking for something to slag Dele off for, and they just picked his clothes for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. Soft, stupid. So yeah, there you go. We'll leave it there. Thanks for coming on, Paul.
Better late than never, isn't it?
Better late than never. Always welcome your opinions on matters. First time I've been able to do one of these in a while. We've actually won a game.
I know. Yeah, I watched Match of the Day for the first time, and I think.
I know, yeah, completely.
I think for the first time since we beat What was the game where Townsend scored that worldie at Goodison? I don't think it wasn't the Arsenal game. Was it Burnley?
Burnley.
Yeah,
Burnley, yeah.
because the Arsenal game was midweek, wasn't it? This is the
Yeah.
first time since I think Burnley at home in September that I actually watched Match of the Day.
Yeah. It's encouraging, you know, like we said, I think it's all about confidence, isn't it? It's all about being able to take that into the next game. It was a great display from the team.
Confidence and competence. And look what the difference is when you actually have a competent manager on the touchline.
Positivity, passion, people we can get behind, and it's there for us to take that into Tuesday. I just hope that, you know, old habits have just died hard and we don't just bottle this Tuesday night. Now it's a huge game. It's a huge game for us. We need to win, and then if we can win Tuesday night, then it's set up nicely on Saturday for the Leeds game as well. So fingers crossed we can start turning a corner now finally, and, you know, drag us away from that.
Just get this horrible,
just get it.
Just put this horrible, nightmarish 6 months that we've had behind us, and just never have to look back on it again.
Because we do deserve to be where we are. Let's not mainly
say, of course we do.
Awful season, but we have got the tools to turn this round with some of these. We have got the tools.
Yeah, I said this after the game and got a few likes on Twitter. This Everton team is still far, far, far from the finished package. It's got glaring weaknesses in it, and there's a lot of work to be done. But this Everton team still has enough quality in it to be nowhere near a relegation battle.
Yeah.
The fact that it's right bang smack in the middle of a relegation battle is just a further indictment of how awful an appointment Rafa Benitez is, and how absolutely not the right man to be managing in the Premier League for any team, in my opinion. Rafa Benitez is in the year 2022. People are always going to stick up for him, and he's achieved things in the game you can't take away from him. But the fact that Everton were in the state they were in because of him just shows that he is, whatever you want to say, past it, overrated, ill-fitted to the job, whatever.
Delusional.
Delusional. Rafa Benitez should never have been the Everton manager, and yesterday just further validated that why he shouldn't have been, because Everton was sinking like a stone under Rafa Benitez, and we'd still be sinking like a stone if we didn't get rid of him. So it's just been a nightmare 6 months, and thank God it's over, and thank God, and hopefully the next few months is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the second half of the season, start picking up some points now and really start moving in the right direction. You know, great result yesterday in the cup. You know, we'll find out later on this evening whether it will be Bournemouth or Boreham Wood. More than likely going to be Bournemouth, but you never know in the FA Cup. And yeah, hopefully we can just start taking a bit more positivity into the remainder of the season now and start pulling back up the table, and, you know, go into next season with a completely fresh slate. Because there's a lot of reason for optimism. Definitely, if yesterday's anything to go by. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Thanks, Paul, for jumping on. Thanks everyone for your comments, for joining us. Drop a like if you haven't done so already, and subscribe if you haven't done so already as well. We'll be back with more content over the next week or so with 2 huge games for Everton. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content over the next week. See you later.
Bye-bye.